Hello everyone, my name is Guruton and welcome to the first episode of Beyblade Burst Advance on the Beyblade Tournaments Australia channel. This video series will be where we go over some more competitive tricks and tips of the game of Beyblade Burst. With every video, we should be able to improve your skills and knowledge of Beyblading to win against even the toughest opponents. These videos will expect basic knowledge of how Beyblade works, and should be used not as a way to learn how to play, and more as a way to update your skills. On today's episode, we will be covering various types and subtypes in Beyblade Burst format, and popular combos for those types. We will additionally be covering a few common competitive parts, and what types they are used for. So let's begin with the 4 master types, as I like to call them. These are the types you should already know and love: attack type, stamina type, defense type, and balance type. Let's cover all these types one by one. Attack types are incredibly powerful but incredibly risky. In World Beyblade Organization's deck build format, the ability to earn bonus points for burst finish or stadium out is incredibly potent. But attack types are a double-edged sword. Their low stamina and reliability makes them lose often, especially if you can't perform the infamous sliding shot or rush shoot in the anime. If you use attack types, you better be sure you have the launching skill to match their potential power. However, there is some subtypes for this that make up these weaknesses. We will go over them later. Stamina types are often what the most competitive combos come under. They are often the safe choice for Burst, as Burst is a format where stadium outs are rather rare. Because of this, it's often a good idea to have a good stamina combo for when you want as little risk as possible. However, when everyone is using stamina types, it can mean the battles come down to small differences, be it launch strength, the launcher you use, the weight disc, the frame. Absolutely anything can be the difference between winning or losing in a stamina battle. Defense types are often left out in Burst, as the need for a defense type in a stamina-dominated format is rather low. Defense type's purpose is to take attack type hits and survive for an extended period. But when stamina types have high burst resistance and longer spin times, defense types are almost completely outclassed. However, fringe uses of the type do come into play, especially in deck build format, where attack types are just a little bit more common. So, balance types are considerably rare if you don't include subtypes I'm about to talk about. They are meant to be a combination of multiple types, but before Burst, balance types were often terrible. Specializing in one type is often a way better than trying to cross over the advantages of multiple types, since you often end up with just the negatives. That being said, having a Beyblade that can switch modes or become a specific type can work, like the combo I have cobbled together here. So that's all the master types, the types that Takara Tomy, the original designers behind Beyblade, design around and push, and where all the other types come from. Now let's go over some subtypes, types that derive from, but function differently from the master types. Stationary attack types could be considered a balance type between an attack type and either a stamina type or a defense type, as while their goal is to win by burst, a normally attack type victory condition, they don't act like most attack types. The goal of a stationary attack type is to use a stamina or defense driver that makes the Beyblade go to the center of the stadium and hit stamina or defense types repeatedly, because they both want the same space until the jagged parts of the top layer cause a burst in the opponent. Sometimes they will be purposely unbalanced for slightly more erratic movement to increase the burst rate. This is one of the most creative creations of the burst format, and it covers the weakness of attack types for the small decrease in power. Now that decrease in power is enough to make some players find regular attack types more reliable, but if you want the function of attack types without having to master the launching techniques to use them, stationary attack types do the job. Evasive types, or evasive stamina or evasive defense, is a stamina or defense type Beyblade with an attack type driver, so they move around the stadium instead of stationary in the center of it. They are designed to both dodge aggressive attack types and completely shut down stationary attack types by completely avoiding the battle, but this, of course, comes at the cost of stamina. It's an interesting type that I thought could work during Metal Fight era, but truly came to life in Burst. It's still a rather rare type, as it only works against attack types and is still risky then, but it is a type that can do a bit of a roll shift. If against a stamina type, you can shift your launch style and try to go for a burst stadium out if you need to do so to win. It's not a reliable type, but its a niche roll does the job that others don't. Okay, so spin stealers and equalizers is probably the most notorious subtype in the entire game. Spin stealers work by going in the opposite direction from the opponent to share the spin power between two Beyblades until it comes down to the last rotations. So often spin stealers spin left to combat the most common spin direction of right. This type is my personal favourite, as it's highly reliable, incredibly powerful, and often uses the coolest looking parts. The type's only weakness is other Beyblades that spin in the same direction as them, which often is other spin stealers, and when it isn't a spin stealer, it's often an attack type that, when in burst format, will often have a hard time defeating the popular layers for spin stealers, which by the way are Drain FAFNIR and SPRIGGAN REQUIEM at the moment. It was the fact that SPRIGGAN REQUIEM could spin both directions with a high burst resistance, even weight distribution, and weight, that got it banned by the World Beyblade Organization, all things perfect for spin stealing. So that's all the most common subtypes that appear in competitive Beyblade events. There can be a few more, like snipe combos, combos designed to knock out on the first hit by being as heavy as possible, and jump combos, but we will not be going over them as they are rare and gimmicky. I'll make a follow-up video on any new types that appear, or any I happen to miss for whatever reason. Comment below if you think I've missed any. Now let's move on to some popular parts used by competitive players as of the 3rd of July 2018. Now you will notice many of these parts being classified as a type that isn't the type listed on the part's packaging, such as say Atomic being a stamina type part instead of a defense type. This is because the packaging stats provided by both Hasbro and Takara Tomy are often wrong. Never trust the packaging stats. Parts often find their true type via testing by players, and while the packaging stats is a good guideline for where to start testing, it's never a good idea to trust them. With that out of the way, let's start with that infamous Atomic. Atomic is the most popular driver in all of Burst, and until Bearing, no other driver was better than it at stamina, and Bearing has a major flaw, more on that later. This part provides so much stamina while also having a stopping mechanic to assist in reducing Stadium's outs, that it is also free spinning to reduce the amount of stamina loss that no other part can really outclass it. Additionally, the free spinning parts also assist in spin stealing, gaining more power from the opposing top and providing more life after death effects to the top, meaning it gets those last few rotations to win the battle. Its only flaw is that most Atomics cause an aggressive motion in the Beyblade early in the battle if launched hard enough, which can leave the Beyblade open to attack types knocking it out. A powerful part that all competitive players should try to get their hands on, as hard as that can be. Bearing is considered the Atomic counter. It's the most powerful part in terms of stamina, and two Beyblades with identical parts other than the driver with one having Bearing will always have the Bearing outspin the other driver with few exceptions. So what's the problem with it? A weaker spring is deliberately put in the driver to increase the burst rate of any Beyblade that uses it, meaning that any Beyblade with this driver is instantly weaker to attack types or could even burst from other stamina types. You should consider this when using the part because as good as it is, it can be a liability. Still worth picking up though, if you can. Put rubber on the outside of a West spin, it will probably be a good spin stealer. Takara Tomy found this out with Meteor Drago from Metal Fight and repeated it for Drain FAFNIR. While SPRIGGAN REQUIEM is better at the job, that's currently banned by the WBO, so this is your next best bet. And hey, it still does the job. Okay, so initially a lot of this part was going to be some speculation, seeing as the part had a limited release, and for many it's hard to get. But then I got my hands on this part. this is the biggest example of weight creep, something we will go over in another video in Burst, as the part has an insane amount of weight evenly distributed when in 10 core mode. This results in the Beyblade being very difficult to knock out of the stadium. It also results in it being very hard, though not impossible, to burst. The part has very weak teeth, but being web spin and heavy mitigates this issue substantially. It's notable that many other Super Z series layers do have the ability to burst Salamander with relative ease. However, any series before Super Z is limited in their effects against Salamander, meaning this part could represent the power divide between the older series and the newer series, much like Ultra Chronos was for the Gold Layer system. It is also gifted with both high stamina capabilities due to its weight and less spin capabilities, and high attack capabilities with its 5 core mode being unbalanced and again heavy, giving it the ability to hit hard. It's looking to be quite the solid part for most of Super Z. Variable is probably the most common pure attack driver, but you need to know how to use it. It requires some wear and a lot of skill to use, but it can take down opponents quickly. Worth getting if you are willing to put in the effort to mastering it. Solid attacker, nothing more, nothing less. It can work as a stationary attacker or a regular attack type, and it has the shape and weight distribution to outspin even some stamina types. Solid part, and honestly quite cheap to get for a Takara Tomy part. And the Hasbro version is looking to be equally as good. SIEG XCALIBUR hits like a truck. This part is insane in attack power. If you just want a pure attack power part, this is the part to go with. Just know that it has an odd but important weakness against left spin tops. Deep Chaos is a great stamina part with the right parts. Its weak teeth does mean you have to use it with the right parts, but those right parts are all the most common stamina parts, such as Bearing, Atomic, and Orbit. Now there are many more parts, and many others that are commonly used, but this is not a video to be going over all the competitive parts being currently used. But that's just a general idea of what is used and how they are used, so you can begin your own study. However, there is one more thing I want to cover before we end this video, for all those going to official Hasbro tournaments out there. SPRIGGAN Requiem. Initially, this section was going to be on Maximum Garuda, but the Canadian rules for the World Tour revealed that Maximum Garuda has been banned from even Hasbro events, but that doesn't stop all parts from being overpowered. Now this part's Takara Tomy equivalent is a great part, enough for even the WBO to continue its ban from a few weeks ago. However, the Hasbro variant is somehow even stronger by having insane amount of burst resistance, especially with the Hasbro variant of Bearing, a part designed to increase the burst rate of any Beyblade it is with. YouTuber JoJo has a video testing this particular combo. A link to her video will be at the end of this video. Expect that to be busted even during official Hasbro events. And that's all for this video. I'll be doing one video a week until I run out of topics. Next week we will be covering launching techniques. Any questions you can ask in the comments below, I'll be happy to answer them. So I'll see you there next time on Beyblade Tournaments Australia's YouTube page. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell for more. Keraton out.